Part 3. Honor and Home. As Theseus walked up the main street of the city, everyone wondered who the tall, fair youth could be. He continued straight to his father's palace. "Where is the king?" he asked the guard. "You cannot see the king," the guard answered. But impressed by the noble bearing of the youth, he continued, "I will take you to his nephews." The guard led the way into the feast hall, and there Theseus saw his 50 cousins sitting about the table, swilling ale, arguing, and making great fools of themselves. As Theseus stood in the doorway, his teeth clenched in anger. One of the feasters saw him and cried out, "Well, tall stranger, what do you want here?" Theseus only replied, "I am here to ask the hospitality which men should never refuse to give." "Nor do we refuse," cried they. "Come in, eat, drink, and be our guest." "I will come in," said Theseus, "but I will be the guest of the king. Where is he?" "Never mind the king," said one of the feasters. "Anyway, we hold the real power. If you want to get anything done here, you have to go through us." Barely able to restrain his anger, Theseus strode boldly past the revelers and into the main halls of the palace, searching for the king. At last he found Theseus, lonely and sad, sitting in an inner chamber. Theseus's heart broke to see the lines of care and worry upon the old man's face. "Great king," he said gently, "I am a stranger in Athens, and I have come to you to ask food and shelter and friendship, such as I know you never deny." "And who are you?" said the king. "I am Theseus," answered the young man. The king started and turned very pale. Could this be the son whom he had so long hoped to see? His hands trembled as he felt his heart yearn strangely toward the young man. Then checking himself, he said, "Yes, yes, you are welcome, young hero, to such shelter and food and friendship as the king of Athens could give." So when the hour came, Theseus sat down to dine with the king, and while he ate, he told of his deeds. He paused for a moment in his talk to help himself to a piece of the roasted meat, and as was the custom of the time, drew his sword to carve it. As the sword flashed from its scabbard, Theseus saw the letters engraved upon it, the initials of his name, and he knew at once that it was the sword he had hidden so many years before under the stone on the mountainside by the city beyond the sea. "My son! My son!" he cried, as he sprang up and flung his arms around Theseus. It was indeed a glad meeting for both father and son, and they had many things to ask and to tell. The very next morning Theseus sent out his heralds to make it known all through the city that his son Theseus had arrived, and that he would in time be king in his stead. When the 50 nephews heard this, they were angry and alarmed. "Shall this upstart cheat us out of our heritage?" they cried, and they made a plot to ambush Theseus in a grove close by the city gate. Very cunningly did the wicked fellows lay their trap to catch the young hero. One morning, as he was passing that way alone, several of them fell suddenly upon him with swords and lances and tried to slay him outright. They were 30 to 1, but he faced them boldly and held them at bay, while he shouted for help. The men of Athens, who had borne so many wrongs at the hands of the greedy nephews, came running out from the streets. In the fight that followed, every one of the plotters were slain, and the other nephews, when they had heard about it, fled from the city and never returned.